Hello, curious minds! What if everything you know, your thoughts, your memories, even this video, is just a highly sophisticated illusion? Today we're diving into 7 theories that don't just bend reality, they obliterate it. Let's start with a simple question, one that philosophers have grappled with for centuries. What is reality? It's something we all think we understand. But do we really? It's what we perceive with our senses, the taste of your morning coffee, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the vibrant colors of a rainbow. But our senses can be tricked, can't they? Optical illusions show how easily our brains can be fooled. Our perception of reality can be manipulated. We only perceive a tiny sliver of the light that exists in the universe. What about the rest? What realities might be hidden from our view? It's enough to make you wonder, isn't it? What if everything around you, the world you know, the people you love, even your thoughts, were all just lines of code? What if we're living inside a computer simulation, and everything we experience is simply part of a program designed by a higher intelligence? Makes the Matrix look like light reading, right? But what if it's not just science fiction? This is the core idea behind the simulation hypothesis, the belief that our entire universe might be a simulation created by a more advanced civilization. The theory was popularized by philosopher Nick Bostrom, who argued that at least one of the following must be true. Either human civilization will go extinct before we develop the technology to create simulations, we're unlikely to be interested in running simulations of our ancestors, or we are almost certainly living in a simulation right now. Bostrom's argument hinges on a paradox. As technology advances, future civilizations may eventually possess the power to create simulations so realistic that the simulated beings would be unaware of their virtual nature. And given the sheer number of potential simulations, the probability that we're not living in one seems unlikely. Imagine a VR game so immersive that you couldn't tell where the real world ends and the simulation begins. If this technology becomes more advanced, is it really such a stretch to believe that we too might be in an incredibly sophisticated version of that game? But it doesn't stop at technology. Some scientists point to glitches in our reality, mysterious coincidences, strange phenomena, or just oddities in physics that hint at the possibility of a simulation. Even the tiniest glitch in our perception could be a sign of the system malfunctioning. A person walks through a door and suddenly forgets what they were doing. A bird flies into a wall and then starts over. These moments are the fingerprints of a system trying to keep us from noticing the cracks. So if we are indeed living inside a simulation, the real question becomes, who created it, and why? Are we just entertainment for an advanced species? Or is our reality simply an experiment, a complex test that we're not meant to understand? And if we are, what happens when we figure it out? Now let's take a step back. What if the universe isn't just a simulation, but a projection? A 3D illusion created from 2D data, like a hologram. This is what scientists call the holographic principle. This theory stems from the work of 2 groundbreaking physicists, Gerard Hooft and Leonard Susskind. They propose that the information contained in a volume of space can be described entirely by data on the boundary of that space. One of the most compelling reasons for this idea comes from the study of black holes. When objects fall into a black hole, we know that all the information about them, about their position, momentum, even their very essence, is somehow lost. But what if that information is not destroyed? What if it's encoded on the event horizon just waiting to be decoded? In 1993, physicists realized something extraordinary. The amount of information contained within a black hole's event horizon is proportional to its surface area, not its volume. This led to the idea that the entire universe might follow the same principle, that all the information in the cosmos is actually encoded on a 2-dimensional surface, with the 3-dimensional world we experience just being an illusion projected onto us. This idea doesn't just apply to black holes. It suggests that the entire universe could be understood as a hologram, where the 2D data encoded at the edge of the universe. Our sense of depth, space, and time, everything we think is real, could be nothing more than a trick played by this boundary surface. This theory also connects to the idea of virtual reality. Just as we can create virtual worlds with 3D projections from 2D data, perhaps our entire reality is a projection of information from a surface beyond our comprehension, information that we're not yet capable of fully understanding. In fact, some scientists believe that understanding this principle could help us reconcile the 2 biggest theories in physics, quantum mechanics and general relativity. If the universe is truly a hologram, then everything from subatomic particles to the vastness of space is connected by a deeper hidden layer of reality. But here's the real question. If everything is just a projection, then what happens when we discover what's really behind the curtain? Now let's travel to the realm where particles don't behave like anything we're used to. Welcome to quantum weirdness. a place where the rules of reality seem to break down, and even the most basic laws of physics get turned upside down. And the strange thing is, we don't really know why. Particles can exist in two places at once. They can instantly affect each other no matter how far apart they are. And, as scientists have discovered, the very act of observing a particle can change its behavior. This is not just weird, it's unexplainable. Take the famous thought experiment known as Schrödinger's cat. Imagine a cat locked inside a box along with a radioactive atom that has a 50% chance of decaying. If the atom decays, the cat dies. If it doesn't, the cat lives. But quantum mechanics tells us something bizarre. Until we open the box and observe it, the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. This is what we call superposition. So superposition means that particles and even objects can exist in multiple states at once. The cat is alive and dead. The electron is both here and there. It's only when we measure the system, when we observe it, that the particle decides on one state or another. But what does that say about the nature of reality? Are we all just existing in multiple possibilities at once? Let's take another quantum experiment, the double slit experiment. If you fire a particle through two slits at once, it acts like a wave, creating an interference pattern on the other side. But when we observe it, the particle collapses and behaves like a particle again. What's even weirder is that the particle seems to know it's being observed, changing its behavior in response. How could something so small be aware of whether or not it's being watched? It's almost as if the universe at the quantum level is conscious, or at least responds to observation in ways that don't make sense. This is the essence of quantum weirdness. Particles that exist in a cloud of probabilities until we look at them, and then they choose a state to be in. But how do we explain that in a world where we thought cause and effect were supposed to be straightforward? Then there's quantum entanglement, the phenomenon where two particles become so deeply connected that no matter how far apart they are, changing the state of one particle will instantly change the state of the other. Einstein called this his spooky action at a distance. And it challenges everything we know about time and space. How can two particles be connected across vast distances, faster than the speed of light? Entanglement seems to defy the laws of causality. In our everyday world, if you want to send a signal from one place to another, you need time. But quantum particles seem to share information instantaneously. Could it be that our understanding of space and time is fundamentally flawed? Finally, there's the uncertainty principle, which tells us that there's a limit to how much we can know about a particle's position and momentum at the same time. The more precisely we know one, the less precisely we can know the other. At the quantum level, the universe is inherently uncertain, unpredictable. This randomness isn't a flaw in our understanding, it's a fundamental property of reality. The universe at its core is governed by chance, and there's no way to fully predict or control it. The future, at the quantum level, may be as uncertain as the past. So what does all of this mean? Are we living in a universe governed by strange and unpredictable forces that don't follow the rules we've come to trust? The more we learn about quantum mechanics, the stranger the universe seems. And the deeper we go, the less certain we are about anything. And if quantum physics is this strange, what else about reality is waiting to be discovered? Now let's twist things even more. What if time doesn't exist at all? Or, what if time isn't what we think it is? Physicists have been challenging the very idea of time. And what they've discovered might just blow your mind. We experience time as something that flows. It feels real, doesn't it? The seconds tick away and we move through life from one moment to the next. But in the deepest corners of physics, some theories suggest that time isn't a fundamental feature of reality, but rather an illusion, something we've created to make sense of how we perceive the universe. Take Einstein's theory of relativity. It revolutionized how we think about space and time. According to relativity, time is relative. It can stretch, bend, and even stop, depending on how fast you're moving or how strong gravity is around you. In this sense, time is not a universal constant. Different observers can experience time in completely different ways. For example, if you were traveling near the speed of light, time would slow down for you relative to someone standing still. This effect, called time dilation, has been proven through experiments with fast-moving particles. But this raises an unsettling question. If time can change depending on where you are or how fast you're moving, how can we be sure that time is truly a constant, objective reality? Now let's take things even further. Previously we talked about quantum mechanics. In that realm, time is even stranger. In the world of tiny particles, there's no definite flow of time. Things can happen in multiple ways at once, and only when we observe them does time seem to choose a path. Some physicists argue that, at the quantum level, time is just an illusion. In fact, there's a theory called block universe theory, which suggests that past, present, and future are all equally real and time is just a human construct, something we create to make sense of our world. According to this view, the universe doesn't flow from one moment to the next. Instead, all moments exist simultaneously in a four-dimensional block with no true passage of time. In this block universe model, time is more like a dimension, much like the three spatial dimensions of length, width, and height. Every moment of time exists in a block, already laid out, already there. We just perceive it as if we're moving through it. This idea is mind-boggling, isn't it? If all of time exists at once, then free will and our perception of the future might be an illusion. And then there's loop quantum gravity, a theory that tries to reconcile quantum mechanics and general relativity. In this view, time doesn't even exist at the quantum level. Time is more like a byproduct of the way space and matter interact rather than a fundamental feature of the universe. Time might only emerge as an approximation when we look at the world from a larger human perspective. At the smallest scales, time might not even be real. So the big question is, if time doesn't really exist, what does that mean for how we live, how we experience our own existence, or how we understand the universe? Is it just a tool we use to measure change, or is it something more? Something we've misunderstood from the very beginning? And if time isn't real, then what else in our experience is just an illusion? Now let's dive into a paradox so strange that it makes us question the very nature of our existence. Introducing the Boltzmann brain paradox, an idea that turns our understanding of reality on its head. The paradox is named after the 19th century physicist Ludwig Boltzmann, who made groundbreaking discoveries about the behavior of particles and the nature of entropy, basically, the measure of disorder in a system. Boltzmann's work led to the theory of thermodynamic equilibrium, which describes how systems tend to move toward disorder as time goes on. In a very large, infinite universe, this means that eventually, everything will reach a state of maximum disorder or heat death, where nothing works as we know it, and all matter is in a state of perfect entropy. But here's where things get weird. In a universe that is infinite and has infinite time, anything that can happen will eventually happen, even the most improbable events. And that's where the Boltzmann brain comes in. A Boltzmann brain is a hypothetical brain that could spontaneously form due to random fluctuations in a state of maximum entropy. In other words, at some point in the distant future in an infinite universe, a brain could randomly come together out of particles, fully formed, with false memories and a false sense of reality. It would think it has a past, a history, and even consciousness. But in reality, it's just an isolated brain. One tiny, fleeting, improbable moment of order in an otherwise chaotic, disordered universe. This leads to an unsettling question. If Boltzmann brains can form in a random, disordered universe, how can we be sure that we aren't just Boltzmann brains ourselves, brains with false memories, existing only for a brief, illusory moment in an otherwise chaotic cosmos? According to the paradox, it's statistically much more likely for a Boltzmann brain to form in the far future than for an entire universe like ours to evolve in the orderly way that we experience. So, what if our entire reality is just an illusion created by a random fluctuation in an entropic universe? This paradox leads to a philosophical dilemma. How can we trust the reality we experience if it's just as likely that our existence could be the result of a random, one-in-a-million fluctuation, rather than the product of a long, evolving universe? What if in the end, we're all just fleeting, improbable brains in an infinite universe of chaos? Imagine this. What if everything around you, every tree, every stone, even every atom, has a form of consciousness? What if the universe itself is alive, aware, and conscious in some way? This is the core idea behind Panpsychism, the theory that consciousness is not just a human trait but a fundamental feature of the universe. Panpsychism says that consciousness is built into the very fabric of reality, an inherent quality that exists in all things, from electrons to entire galaxies. This idea may sound strange, but it has ancient roots. Philosophers like Baruch Spinoza and William James have hinted at the idea that consciousness could be everywhere, just in different forms and levels of complexity. In the modern era, thinkers like Philip Goff have revived this theory, arguing that if we want to understand consciousness fully, we may need to consider the possibility that it is a fundamental property of matter. If panpsychism is true, it could help explain one of the greatest mysteries in science, consciousness itself. How does the brain, made up of non-conscious particles, give rise to subjective experience, thoughts, and feelings? If consciousness is built into everything, maybe it's not so mysterious after all. So what if the tree in front of you is not just alive but aware in some way? What if the rock beneath your feet is somehow conscious, just in a form we can't fully comprehend? Some versions of panpsychism suggest that everything is connected through a universal field of consciousness, like a cosmic web, where everything from subatomic particles to massive celestial bodies is linked by an underlying shared awareness. This view hints at a deeply interconnected universe where the essence of consciousness permeates all of reality. If panpsychism is right, the universe might be much more alive than we think. Our consciousness might not be an isolated phenomenon but part of a larger universal experience. What if everything you see, hear, and touch is nothing more than information? What if the entire universe, every star, planet, and particle, was built from nothing but data? There's a theory called reality as information that suggests exactly this. The universe we experience is fundamentally made of information, rather than matter. At the heart of this theory is the idea that information is the most basic building block of reality. Think about it like this. Just as a computer game creates an entire world from lines of code, the universe might create everything we experience, space, time, matter, from fundamental pieces of information. This concept was inspired by ideas from quantum mechanics and information theory. Quantum mechanics shows us that, at the most fundamental level, particles don't behave like we expect. In a way, particles might not be solid objects at all, but simply pieces of information that create the illusion of solidity and reality. The holographic principle, which we touched on earlier, also ties into this idea. It suggests that all the information about a region of space can be encoded on the boundary of that space. In fact, some physicists like John Wheeler have suggested that it from bit, the idea that everything comes from information, could be the key to understanding the universe. Wheeler argued that everything, from the tiniest particle to the vast cosmos, might emerge from information. The stuff that makes up our reality could be nothing but encoded data, existing in a quantum realm we can barely understand. And what about consciousness? If reality is made of information, could our minds be processing and interpreting that data? Are we simply decoding the universe? If reality as information is correct, it means that everything, every interaction, every object, every moment is just a result of data being processed. The universe could be a massive cosmic computer running an incredibly complex program where all the laws of physics are just algorithms. What we perceive as reality might not be real at all. It could just be the result of information being interpreted by our senses. This also opens the door to some insane possibilities. If reality is based on information, could we manipulate that data? Could we hack the code of the universe? If the universe is built from information, what does that say about our place in it? So, what if none of this is real? What if the universe is just one version of infinite possibilities, and you're the only one who'll ever experience this exact version? Which of these theories blew your mind the most? Or, did we miss one that really makes you question everything? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think reality actually is. And if you think this was wild, wait until we get into brains in vats, reverse time, and mirror universes. Let us know if you want part 2. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss an adventure, and, above all, keep questioning reality. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep looking up. What if the glitch is you?